Hello and welcome to UI Chat from The Interface, the monthly show talk about everything Ubiquiti and networking. I'm your host Alex, and once again I'm joined by Evan McCann. How are you doing, Evan?
Good to be back. I feel like this was a quiet month, maybe. I don't know. Did I just jinx something? Although today's the last day of the month, so I think we're safe to record and call March done. But we'll see.
Might be a surprise overnight announcement from Ubiquiti on a Sunday, but
you never know.
Yeah, awesome. So I think we got some bits and pieces like follow-up items. I think the biggest bit of news was the UniFi World Conference, the UWC that took place in Chicago. I know Riley, that hosts the Vibe, he went to that event. No one can really say anything about what they saw, but there were some murmurings about there were some interesting things. I understand you got an invite, but you unfortunately couldn't make it, which is I'm really sorry. So
yeah. So I think that news came out in February, maybe. So I think we both applied like right away because they have a show or I think it's still upcoming. The one in London is like the next few days or next few weeks, right?
I think it's in April. I think it might be a month away. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I applied for Chicago, and I think you applied for London. I didn't hear anything for a couple weeks, and then like the week before the show, like last week, they were like, "Hey, we didn't hear back. Are you coming?" And I'm like, "This is the first time I've heard that I'm coming." So yeah, I just didn't have enough time to make the travel work. But I'm really bummed that I wasn't able to go because I saw a lot of stuff that was posted there by Cody and Riley and all the other people that did make it. So yeah, I know the news that was kind of covered there. A lot of it is not public yet, so we only kind of know vague details. They did mention a few things that we can either get into now or get into later. But it seems like the big thing that they were talking about there is like pushing towards enterprise. Because I think it's Wireless Nerd on Twitter. I don't know his actual name.
No idea.
But I follow his website and his posts because I think he makes either videos or blog posts. Don't quote me on which one's which. But yeah, so he's a networking guy, and he's saying like, later this year, enterprise, like that's what we can talk about is like enterprise is coming. So I think that'll be probably this fall, this winter is kind of what he was saying. So I'm excited to see what all that means, and it kind of makes sense with all the recent software changes that we've seen.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so more to come, and hopefully if they do this again next year, I'll be there, and I'll know with more than a week notice, and maybe you'll be able to get to the one in London.
I'm hoping so. I've got it penciled in the calendar. I haven't heard anything back yet, but that'd be really cool. From Cody posted a video on YouTube which I watched whenever it came out the other day. I thought that was really good. It was sort of like a little tiny vlog kind of combination thing. Obviously, they couldn't film anything. There was signs up in the foyer saying no photographs, no filming. Because I was surprised on the day of the event. It was on I think it was Tuesday this week. Just how little information we got, but we got some photographs of Robert speaking, and there was some Ubiquiti employees speaking and stuff. And the one takeaway that people have mentioned is that Robert was very candid in his sort of approach to talking about the history of the company and different things, which was he's been quite a recluse for a long time. It's just nice to have him come out and talk about the company as a person, if you know what I mean. It sounds really weird, but like it. Yeah, it's good that they've done that. So
yeah, and like Ubiquiti is such his company. Like it's almost like Elon Musk and Tesla. Like there's one person that the whole kind of company is tied to in a way. So it's good to see him out. I from what I know, like this was more common back in the day. Like back at WISP shows, they had booths there and were more public about their plans and those kind of things. So hopefully they're heading that direction. And yeah, always good to see him out, and hopefully we'll be able to get the inside info next time.
Yeah. Well, the one I remember, the last one that I remember him speaking at was in 2016. It was at Whisperpalooza. That video was on YouTube, on their YouTube channel. I managed to find a link for it, but it's been removed. Like it's been made private, that video. But that was where the original cloud key was announced. It was where the CRM point was announced. It was where all the AC stuff was announced. But that was from the thing I remember watching back on the day was that it was very he was a very nervous speaker, and by the sounds of it, he's like a very confident speaker now, so it's a lot better. But yeah, obviously we can't watch anything of what was said, but yeah, it's good. So what the one thought I had was if the guys have like Cody have seen any products that have been announced, how does, from a content creation's perspective, how does that mess with their brain when they like come to announce them? That, oh yeah, this is the thing that you got to act surprised, or yeah.
I think Cody mentioned one of the, like I watched that same video. It was like 8 minutes, the vlog type video, and he said like hopefully Ubiquiti doesn't make me take this out of this. So like I don't know if they have like, does he finish his video and send it to them, and then they'll say you can't include this detail or talk about this product. I don't know if they have like approval on that. Maybe, I mean, because that's probably tied into
whatever NDA
like,
they signed.
Yeah, I don't know if they have an NDA. They probably can't talk about that.
No.
But yeah, I'd assume like I know Chris from Crosstalk, like when they get products ahead of time, they have a strict like you can't publish anything until this date. So I think they're, you know, they have no problem kind of separating that and kind of what I can talk about publicly and what I can't, but it definitely is a little tricky.
It's the same for the car stuff as well. That I do is you get press releases through ahead of time with a very, very, very strict NDA and fines and threats of court action if you even by human error, I think it said, that you let this information go. So they're very strict on those NDAs sometimes. So yeah, but yeah, it's good that they're touring the world. I think they're going to Dubai at some point as well. So it's all exciting stuff. So it's good.
Yeah.
Next bit you posted was there was a blog post from Alta Labs, I think, just talking about the team they've got, and it sounds like they've had a little bit of a jab at Ubiquiti, a little bit maybe. So a
little bit, yeah. This was just a real quick thing because I think we talked about it last time.
Yeah.
Because Alta Labs they've announced that they're doing like right now their only products I think are 2 different access points, a couple switches.
I think so.
And then they have like their cloud controller. So when you get that equipment, you have to log into their website. That's where you'd go to configure them. They're working on a self-hosted version of that software, which has been in beta for I think 2 months now. I think it came out in January. But what was new to me is they mentioned that they're going to have like basically like a cloud key, like a little hardware device where you can have a locally hosted, you know, their hardware with their software. You know, cloud key, basically a cloud key alternative. So that's coming at some point. We don't have a date for it. But I did love in that blog post, they did say many members of the team had worked together for years at a previous employer. So it was like very subtly.
Yeah.
And yeah, from what we know, like most of the core people there are from Ubiquiti.
Yeah.
So yeah, still an interesting company. I'm still, you know, interested to see what they're working on. But yeah, I love that sentence there.
Yeah, it's funny as well. And then last episode we mentioned the possibility of a UNAS Pro, that there were some FCC leaks and things that it just had the same chassis as the UMVR Pro. Is the one you've linked, is this a different product, is it? Because there's this must be the tube thing we've seen before. It looks like a tall SSD.
Yeah, so yeah. I don't know if there's 2 different products. I don't know if either of these will ever be real. But yeah, this one was basically more of like an Amplify Alien looking device with like a big screen, a big tall black cylinder shape. And yeah, the other one that we've seen is basically like the chassis of the UNVR Pro, where it's a 2U silver rack mount with like 7 hard drive bays. So maybe that's like the Pro and non-Pro, or maybe they have one that's focused on SSDs and one that's focused on 3.5, you know, standard hard drives. So yeah, I just saw that leak, and I did notice that was one of a flurry of leaks that were posted on Reddit, and then whoever was posting those deleted their account. So I don't know the backstory on there, but I just saw that. Yeah, the NAS 8 SSDs, 8 NVMe drives. So if that comes out, that'll be very interesting.
Thanks to everyone who has been listening or watching the UI Chat podcast. If you can leave us some feedback in your podcast app of choice, or leave us some feedback in the comments, that would really help us out. Awesome. On to the other Ubiquiti news. So the very first item is Ubiquiti's second dip in the waters of professional site support. Because we had UniFi Elite in the past. But this is their very expensive paid site support sort of product with some limited hours and high prices.
Yeah, so this was originally 6 months ago. I don't know, it was sometime last year where they said this is early access pricing, this will change, this is just something new. And we didn't have a ton of details besides, you know, a very, very few details that were posted on the website. So they added a bit more, and then they also gave us the non-early access, like the permanent pricing.
Yeah.
I think for when it was in early access, it was $100 a month. And it was only in the US, only in English, only for a single site, only for cloud gateways. So like a Dream Machine Pro or like Cloud Gateway Ultra, any of those devices. So not much has changed. It's the pricing is different. They have 1 and 3 year plans, and then they also added it's kind of weird. It's 24 hours, but it's only Monday through Friday. Right. So it would cover overnight throughout your business week, but it would not cover Saturday, and it wouldn't cover holidays either. And it's 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. CST or that 24-hour during the week option.
Yeah.
And it's $1,500 for a year for only business hours, or $2,500 for a year for that 24-hour throughout the business week. And you get a slight discount if you opt for 3 years. Yeah. I did notice in Cody's video, he mentioned like one of the most common questions is like, hey, if I'm an MSP, what's the option for me? Because like it doesn't really make sense to dedicate this for one of my clients. Can I have like, you know, more of a, multi-site plan basically? So I'm wondering if we'll hear about that. And the pricing is, I guess the biggest point of contention, because that was the big thing besides the 24-hour change there. The big thing was the permanent pricing, and it's not that much more than it was. I mean, if it's $100 a month, that's $1,200 a year. So add $300 for the non-early access price.
True, yeah.
And I saw a lot of people commenting and saying like, "Man, I'm undercharging for support. If this is what Ubiquiti is charging," and I think this is what mostly a phone call on like a callback system. So you'd put in a ticket and say, "Hey, give me a call. I'm having this issue." I think they can do video calls as well. But it seems like pretty limited because it's only a single site, which, there's kind of scale limits there. If you have a Dream Machine Pro, you can only have so large of a network. So it seems kind of expensive for what it is, but also I think people and businesses are willing to pay. And if they're pushing into enterprise with their hardware, software, all of that, I think this kind of makes more sense for that.
I think people forget how expensive stuff costs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like if you look at that compared to hiring an IT person, like if you're a small business who has no IT people, you might look at this and say, what a deal. I don't have to hire a staff member, and I have kind of an expert on call if I need it. Yeah. So for that narrow slice, maybe it's not that narrow of a slice, but to me, that's kind of like a specialized thing, and maybe they'll expand this and make it more valuable over time. But if you want 24-hour coverage, you'll have to pay for sure.
Yeah. So at the moment, you said only supports a single physical site with a UniFi Cloud Gateway. So UniFi Cloud Gateway terminology is basically any cloud console, what we used to refer to as. And then only in the US and Canada, and only in English. So, I'm sure they'll expand at some point.
If you're self-hosting, if you have a UXG-Lite or UXG Pro, if you have a USG Pro, does not apply to you. So interesting. I'm curious if this, especially like the MSP angle, because I could see this being valuable for MSPs that don't have UniFi expertise on staff. So maybe that multi-site plan, maybe they'll work out a deal there. But I'm assuming it would. If this is the single site price, that multi-site price is going to be a big number, I would assume.
I just remembered actually in that bit of explanation that Cody did in that video, he mentioned that UI Care is going to become available for MSPs to apply to their products. At the moment, UI Care is only available if you purchase the device from the official store, and it was available in the UK. It's not anymore. They've removed it temporarily. So, but yeah, they've had a weird relationship with MSPs over the past. MSPs were very, very key in making their business what it is, and they sort of left them for a while, and then sort of it just sounds like they're coming back a little bit. So. It's good. So I thought it was an interesting bit of news.
Yeah, I think UI Care will be added to more. What Cody said was it'll be added to more products. So there's only a certain number that you can add that extended warranty on. And then I think if the product was bought through a reseller, I think that'll be UI Care will be available there as well.
Did I say MSPs? I meant distributors. Sorry.
Yeah. Either way, it's those details aren't out. That's just like that might be coming up soon. So sure. Maybe we'll hear about that in the next few months.
Cool. There's also another UniFi app. I think you mentioned. Oh yeah, the 13th iOS app Is that they got 13 in the App Store right now?
Well, yeah, really? At least in the US.
Oh wow.
So they have individual apps for like Network, Protect,
Yeah.
UI Verify, Talk.
Access.
Basically, every application
Yeah.
has its own.
Yeah.
And then they have UISP, UISP CRM. And now this is UniFi Portal, which I think they had something similar. I don't remember the name. But this is kind of like a bunch of things all at once. So it's AR camera placement. It has the capacity calculator in it. You can manage your account. It has a mobile optimized UniFi community and tech specs. And then I guess the big kind of new thing was the UniFi GPT, which is their chatbot advisor. Did you play around with that?
I didn't have chance to look at it, no, but does it work okay or not?
Yeah, I of course immediately tried to trick it or like see what the limits were. It seems like it's very focused on like a useful thing. Like it's like, hey, which access point should I buy?
Okay.
Tell me about the differences between these products. So it seems like it's only a chatbot just for questions about Ubiquiti hardware and software. And I think specifically UniFi. I didn't really go into the UISP side. But yeah, I immediately was like, I was curious, like, is this really just a skin on OpenAI's ChatGPT, or like, how does this work? So I asked, who made you? And I received this response. It said, warm greetings to you. I am as a dedicated UniFi GPT from Ubiquiti. So typos aside, I don't think we're going to really know how this works underneath. I don't know if this is, it seems a little gimmicky maybe, but it also could be, especially if they build it out a bit more, could be very useful to have those, you know, kind of easy responses to common questions or kind of advice. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting, I guess.
Definitely.
But yeah, all of that's wrapped into UniFi Portal. That's a new app, number 13 for iOS.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, interesting. I like the fact that the community is mobile optimized because it's such a easy way of seeing what software's out, so it's really good.
Well, and tech specs, because you get the mobile optimized view of those two things. Is very helpful.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of helpful stuff in there. At least stuff I'll go back and use.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to go ask UniFi GPT about things, but yeah, I'm sure it'll be helpful for some people.
Yeah. Okay. And then we've also got, there was some sort of weird issue with the Cloud Gateway Ultra. It's that new low-priced, very slim with a little tiny screen. Hence the name of this episode, Screengate. There was some issues with the screens on those devices. I'm not as clued up on this topic as you are. I haven't been following the story. So were there many people affected by this issue? It looks like just an alignment issue with the little display behind, but it sounds like Ubiquiti have been fixing them. But I don't know how widespread this issue is. So.
Yeah, it's hard to tell if it's like 1% or some tiny fraction of the Cloud Gateway Ultras had this. I think this is just something that it's just like any gate where you have a few loud users that post about this and then it becomes like a big thing. Because for several days I was seeing more like, hey, mine's misaligned too. Mine's misaligned too. So like it seems like maybe it was like a bad batch.
Yeah.
And the one thing I did see is. The way the screen is made, it almost seems like it was an issue with that component. So it wasn't like Ubiquiti was putting them in crooked. It was they bought screens that were manufactured a little bit off.
Right.
So it's definitely a silly issue in my mind. It's like, does this thing even need a screen, or do we care if it's slightly misaligned? From the pictures that I did see, like sometimes it did make it kind of hard to read the contents of the screen. Silly thing to complain about, but yeah, if you got a brand new piece of hardware and there's an issue with it, I did see Ubiquiti was very quick to respond and send out replacements. So I think it's being handled, and I'm sure it was just like a minor issue with a component they bought.
Yep.
But yes, people love to complain, and there was many posts about this.
Yeah, I've read one post that said 10 out of 10 customer service, thank you for replacing my item. And someone said, oh, well done Ubiquiti for handling this so well. So that's fantastic. So I'd imagine maybe Ubiquiti from 2016, 2017 wouldn't have been so fast to sort this out. Maybe it just seemed a little bit less organized, but no, they seem to be really good at the moment, so that's really good.
Yeah. Screengate is solved. We don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah. Cool. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 item. Well, 5 main products to get through, and then there's a bunch of new camera accessories, which I'm stoked about. So that's awesome. We've got the very first item is a UniFi Access Intercom. This looks awesome. I can imagine this being very useful in multi-tenant buildings and things. We want to let people into different buildings and that way potentially, or gates and things. Essentially, it's like an extension of UniFi Access, and it's building control that isn't managed by one person. So it's multi-tenant visitors and different things. It says intercom terminal designed for managing residential and commercial building entry requests. You've got an outdoor weatherproof keypad with physical buttons and things. It looks like a mini iPad mini that goes inside someone's house if you're in a apartment or flat or something that you use to let people in. And there is also a camera, I believe, on the main intercom unit. But yeah, looks really cool actually. It's sold out at the moment, but I can imagine if someone's deploying a very complex building environment where they've got all sorts of things going on, this would be a really good way of getting people in and out of the building. So awesome.
And are both of those new? The intercom and the intercom viewer?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So the intercom viewer is $199. It's a 5-inch display. It's got 2-way audio. So it is like having one of those old school phones that you to answer the door, like you've got in apartments. So, but it's all using PoE switches. There's a doorbell feature built in, so it sounds like it's a modern version of that phone thing that you used to have with a camera on it. So yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's not like, to me, yeah, like a doorbell makes more sense in a home, and the intercom makes more sense for a business or multi-tenant apartment or something like that.
Yeah.
And especially, what was the most recent, the access or the enterprise access hub, which allows for more devices?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like they're pushing UniFi Access up into businesses and apartments and all those things, and this is another piece to that puzzle, I think.
Well, I think it was either Cody or Jim, the IT guy. One of them mentioned they had a project they deployed UniFi Access into, and this had came out a week afterwards, and just going to rip it out and put this in because it was a much better solution for what they wanted to do. It's either Jim or Cody. I can't remember which one, but yeah. So interestingly, it says you can use NFC, the UniFi Identity app, a PIN code or a QR code to get into your building. And I assume if it's NFC, that they could be anything NFC. I'm not sure how that works, but
well, they sell those little cards too.
Yeah. I just wonder if you could pair like a NFC ring with it or something. Don't know if that works, but yeah, looks really good. It says there's also a directory, so yeah, like a big building, massive building. There's a directory of people you can ring. So sweet, really good. Next one is their sort of, I'm classing this EV thing they're doing as a hobby. Like the I haven't seen anyone use them, but the EV chargers. But it's basically a card add-on for the EV Station Pro, like a contactless card reader, to make sure you can use Apple Pay and pay for the charging. It's a $350 accessory. It's just so expensive just to allow someone to pay with a mobile wallet or something, just to pay for their charging in a commercial space. I mean, I can see the use case for it. If you've got, you just want to charge people for parking, charge people for charging, you want to use the UniFi system, but to not have this contactless reader built into the screen somewhere, it's just really weird. And then charge $350 to have it do it. It's just really, really odd. I don't know what you feel about that.
Yeah, I agree. This seems still like a strange thing for Ubiquiti to make. So classifying it as a hobby, just kind of like how Apple TV was for Apple for a long time. It was just kind of this other thing that they do that's kind of interesting. $350 for what this is a little bit. It seems like a little bit of a stretch.
Yep.
I'm curious what like the fees are, or like how many times would you need to charge an EV to like make that back if you're a business looking to buy this? Because I'm assuming like that's the whole point of adding this was to allow some random person to come up and pay to use your charger.
Yep.
So yeah, it's nice that they have it. I still would be a little hesitant to deploy one of these, but they're continuing to add more products to it, so maybe it will be less of a hobby as they go.
Yes, and also the requirement is that you pay through you have a merchant account with WorldPay, and then they do the payment processing for Ubiquiti. So you've got to go through a Ubiquiti system and a WorldPay system to accept payments, and yeah, it just seems I don't know. From the charging world, there's better solutions for commercial charging at the moment. I can see the idea. I can see it's a good use case for the standard one where you let your employees use it free of charge, and then you could turn them off on a scheduler sort of thing. So yeah, just seems really weird. Hopefully they'll bring out some different products for it. And at the moment they only work with the standards you have in the US. So
yeah. Like you're way more tied into the EV world.
Yeah.
But yeah, in my mind, there's like you pay a professional to install one into your house, or you go to a Tesla supercharger or one that is for the public. This is kind of like a weird in between. Do you know, is there other stuff like this where like if you're a business who wants to provide this to your employees, you could just buy a Tesla supercharger for your office or something?
Well, you can get the I don't know if you've seen the destination chargers, but you can make them work with any EV if you want to, or just Tesla EVs, or you can I think you have like a manager system and you can add them to the system and then have them turn on and off, or be available during certain times and be free of charge, different things. So, and you can even make them be chargeable. So yeah, it's weird. It's not something that you'd end up doing yourself unless you wanted really, really sort of tight integration with UniFi Connect, which there's not many people like that. But
yeah, this product it makes me think like Robert Pear wanted to charge his car, and he's like, why don't we make one? Sure.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, and this sort of ties into the EV station stand. It's just a bit of stainless steel that you bolt into the ground and attach your charger to, so that charger to the wall. So that's $399 for that. So yeah, cool. That's all the EV stuff. We'll leave that for now. And then we've got some new cameras, which is awesome. So we've got 2 new dome cameras. These are the first cameras in the Ultra line. So these are the cheapest. These are the cheapest, apart from the G3 Flex, cheapest wide cameras they produce, I believe. So we've got the G5 Turret Ultra. This form factor is really popular. Whenever I go anywhere, there's always these Hikvision cameras that look like these. So they must be. These look like they're the same size as a tennis ball. So they're really compact and really small because the bullet cameras are a little bit big. So these are just under £100 in the UK. I think similar sort of price in the US. But yeah, the big thing I noticed with this turret camera is the 30 meter or 98 foot IR night vision, and no other camera apart from the G4 Pro has that capability of that sort of night vision. This seems like a really, really good solid offering, and it has all the AI stuff, has a microphone. So yeah, it looks really good, and it's a good price. So yeah,
it keeps with the other Ultra products, which are still confusing to me. But yeah, I think the IR range is the big like.
Yeah,
we're giving this to you, this kind of higher end feature at a lower price. Do you know of any compromises with these? Like, is there a reason why it's so cheap?
So the G5 Turret Ultra, I can't find any downsides with it. I've had a look at it. I can't. There's no downsides with it that I can find. The downside with the next one is the G5 Dome. It doesn't have a microphone. So this is designed for. So the G5 Dome Ultra is indoor only. There's no weatherproofing on it at all. And it, again, like it's an Ultra camera, it can be mounted in so many different ways. And we'll get to the camera accessories in a minute. But you can flush mount it. You can use these junction boxes they've got. This one's got a little bit less night vision, but there's no microphone, and it's exactly the same price as the turret. But no, the turret one, I can't see any downside with it. It's got fab night vision range. Sorry, it's got a microphone. It's weatherproof. No, it looks great. It's just you are slightly limited on how the cable's connected. So with the bullet cams, the cable is plugged directly into the camera body itself. Then you can seal it up that way. This one, it has a cable connected to it, so you have to if you want to mount it on a wall and have the cable going down the wall, you've got to use their little weird junction box to screw in and make it secure and have that exposed. That's the only thing I can say. It's a little bit more cumbersome, but then I think they're saying use our junction boxes and arm mounts and things. So no, these look great. I'll try and get some of these at some point to test out. So
yeah, the built-in junction box. Yeah, I've seen so many. You walk into any convenience store and you see a crappy cheap security camera with the cables.
Yeah.
And, I could see that. It's nice they have accessories to cover that, because that is definitely a little bit strange. But yeah, if you either have the right setup for it or buy the accessory, the junction box.
Yeah.
Great little camera.
Yeah, the both of them look fab. And then the accessories, there's 6 new accessories. So there's an angled base, which is for these standard bullet cams. It makes it so you can mount the camera under an eave and then get a bit more view of the stuff you're trying to look at. It's sort of like an extension for it. That's a good price for that one, and that comes in black or white because the cameras come in different colors now. That one's really good. And then there's a camera arm mount, which is basically for the turret camera as well as the. Is this just for the turret camera? Yes, it does. Yes, it is. So you can mount it on the corner of a building and have it pointing down. This looks very, very traditional to me, based on stuff I've seen in the real world. So that's really good. And then there is space to mount. Sorry, there is space inside the body of the mount to use that little connector they've got for the cables. So it makes it look really flush. That's great as well. And then there's a dome flush mount. So that's for the G5 dome, like the G3 Flex. You can sort of very flush mount it inside the ceiling or whatever. And I did notice with the G5 Dome Ultra. So the G5 Dome Ultra only comes in white. But if you look at the product images for the flush mount, the third one down has a black one. So I think they're going to bring out a black one at some point. So they've let that slip. But yeah.
Yeah, either coming soon or that's a mistake.
Yeah, but that looks really good. That's very, very small little camera. There's one for the AI 360. It's just a big junction box that you lock it into. It gives you the ability. All of these mounts that are big have the ability for a 3/4 inch conduit thread, which makes things a lot more secure, like piping basically. You can route cables, so it makes it look a lot more professional. But I think the junction box for the i360 makes it more tamper resistant, so that's also quite good. There's also the junction box, which is just a big plastic box that you can attach any camera to essentially, and it gives you the ability to again connect conduit and make it more tamper resistant. And you can also connect the G5 Dome old one to it from the ceiling if you want to. And the very last one is the compact junction box, and that's again you can connect conduit to it. It can house the little connector for the G5 turret. So lots of really, really good accessories. There's been sort of a the cameras haven't been ignored. It's just there haven't been many accessories for them for a long time, and this is a really, really good addition. So
yeah, tons of new stuff there.
Yeah, awesome. The first software item we've got is UniFi Network 8.1.113. That's a bit of a mouthful, that one. We've covered this release, really. It's just a renamed release. It's been in EA. We covered it in a previous episode, but there's massive feature update. There's network viewer, NAT pool, layer 3 network and device isolation, all sorts of different things in there. The topology rotation, which people seem to like. I've seen on Twitter, but you mentioned there's references to UniFi OS 4.0. That hasn't even been anywhere yet. But lots of improvements. We won't cover it in this episode because we've probably bored everyone with the covering it last time. So, but yeah, there's 8.1.222 is in EA currently. So there's lots of UniFi Network updates coming very soon. So yeah.
Yeah, and Protect 3.0.22 is interesting. You put that in there. Yeah,
Protect is. I haven't got any cameras that work with this, but Cody has made a video on this already. It looks really, really cool. I'm not sure how it works with privacy laws in different countries, but basically UniFi Protect can now recognize faces. So based on what I've seen on Cody's video, it will recognize faces that doesn't know who they are, like Apple Photos. If you've seen that before, you just name the faces and it will say it will recognize those people. I've updated this on my controller. as well. There's a live view only mode as well. There's also a brand new dashboard. The live view has now been moved to the dashboard, and you can have presets when you log into UniFi Protect. You can see everything you need to, and also you can now archive videos to Google Drive. This isn't as good as it sounds. It won't automatically upload stuff to Google Drive. You have to select clips you want to archive. So rather than downloading them locally, it'll just send them to Google Drive. Weirdly, I got this to work when this was in the EA, but I haven't got it to work since. So I need to report a bug on that. It hasn't worked for me ever since it's been GA, so I need to sort that out. And then there was something on Reddit which quoted my tweet, I think, because my tweet did quite well, I think, when I took screenshots to the Google Drive. So there's just a thread on Reddit that says my name and then the title, and then someone credits my tweet. So that's quite funny. It's had loads and loads of views.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow, Alex is the official newsbreaker for UniFi Protect now.
Yeah, all I did was download the update and then put some screenshots on Twitter. So that's quite funny. And then so some nice updates for Protect there. Always good to see those improvements, because I think Protect's my favourite app they do. So, and then we've got some improvements for UniFi gateways. You've mentioned this is a catch-up release, so the UXG devices have sort of been a little bit behind the UniFi UDM gateways. So it's basically just adding all the other features like DNS Shield, hostname, IPsec, Suricata 6012, and then some other fixes in there. So that's really, really good.
Yeah. So they seem to just be, whatever features the cloud gateways get. Wait about a month, and then you'll see them on the UXG-Lite and Pro. So we got DNS Shield now.
Yeah, really, really good. So there's also 7044 for switches. I'm embarrassed to admit I don't know what ACL is. It's like a list of rules, isn't it? I think I don't actually know what that does. I looked into it. It's like I can't work out why I'd want to use this, but yeah.
It ties into the new UniFi Network feature, where they've always had that isolate network checkbox, which is kind of isolating devices within the network. So they've kind of people have always been confused about what layer 2 and layer 3 and network isolation does and doesn't do, but they've kind of cleared that up where they have two different types. They have the layer 3 ACL, which is like if you're in this guest network, you can't get to the main LAN network. So that would be like between virtual networks or between VLANs. Then they also have the within a network. Do you want, device 1 and device 2 to be able to talk to each other within that network? Oh. So they're kind of separating those, and that's also, it's kind of like a layer 3 switch feature. Yeah. Where it's kind of like, it acts as if, acts like a firewall rule almost, where it's preventing traffic between networks. So that is added to the UniFi switches. And they did add a couple nice things. They increased the max number of lag groups. They kind of updated how PoE is shown and kind of improved that. And they also added a few features to the touchscreen, so you can actually, like I know on the Pro Max switches, you can like locate and color a port based on like, hey, I need to identify this device. Where's it plugged in? And it'll change the color of the port. So now you can do that on the touchscreen. So they're kind of adding some features to the touchscreen, so you don't need to go back to the web interface to do that. And then the Switch Ultra, I only included this. The Switch Ultra 1.1.11, it added custom port profiles, VLAN tagging, and I didn't know either of those things were missing. So I guess congratulations, if you bought a Switch Ultra, you can now have VLANs tagged, which I guess is a feature worth noting. But yeah, those two switches, switch releases, just kind of were the only real news there for this month.
Yeah, I noticed that those features were missing. The Switch Ultra is like the Flex Mini in quite a lot of ways, so you can't adopt it via SSH because it hasn't got a responding SSH interface. So I bought one for a video, and when I was researching for the video, I was like, I can't actually do any port profiles here. It must be more similar. And then I think before I started to film, they released this update, so I mentioned that update in the video because it's quite important, and it's less like the Flex Mini than I thought, which is cool. So, yeah,
it's kind of a weird in between. And I will say, because I was playing around with the Layer 3 ACL rules, it seems like they even have a tooltip, and I think it's on a help article.
Okay.
Where it doesn't apply to switch ports on gateways. So like the 8 ports on a UDM Pro, you can't use an ACL there.
Okay.
You can't use it on the Flex Mini, the Flex. I think the Switch Ultra is included there.
Right.
So the Switch Ultra is like a weird in between where it doesn't have everything a normal Switch has, but it has some stuff that the Flex and Flex Mini don't. It's a weird in between.
Yeah, I think it's a good Switch though. It's a good price. It's like a managed PoE brick for cameras. I think I mentioned that before, so it's quite good for that aspect. So
yeah. And the next one's, I mean, UISP Router and UISP Switch. Less people care about these products, but I'm very excited for UISP Router 5.0 to come out. That's the one that adds the local web interface, OSPF, BGP, WireGuard, IPsec. That's the first release candidate. This has been previewed for a while, but hopefully that'll be out in GA soon. And same thing with UISP Switch 1.8. The big thing to note there is it adds a CLI configuration for the UISP Switch Plus and remote access for UISP. So that's the new stuff there.
Yeah.
Both exciting updates for products that people care less about. Just like SolarPoint, which I know you care about.
Yeah, we mentioned 201 on the show before. It's been in release candidate or EA for months. They just released the update. I updated mine. There's like a few icons that changed, but it's a massive GUI update. The main takeaway is that the weather prediction service now actually functions as intended.
That's always good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's that. Mine still works.
And speaking of security updates, I just noticed airMAX AC version 8 originally came out several years ago. I don't even know. 2016. It's been a long almost 10 years. Oh
wow.
But they did just post I don't know how long it was since the last security update, but they did make a very a sizable security update there recently, 8.7.12. So there's a bunch of underlying packages that were updated, vulnerabilities that were fixed. So yes, they do have these old products that are still out there, still kind of for sale.
Yep.
But yeah, just like SolarPoint, good to see that they're still continuing to patch security vulnerabilities on them.
Yeah, I've got the feeling it's 2021 since the last update for airMAX AC 8.
I would believe you. It feels like it's been a while.
I remember I did a post about it somewhere, and I was like, I managed to find 8.7.11 or whatever it was, and it said, I think it said 2021. Here we go, 2 years ago. That's just some live feedback on the show. It was June 2022, so nearly 2 years. So yeah. Yeah,
and 8.7.12 has been in. You can see early access beta releases going back months and months. So very slow progress, but now that it's out there. Good to see. If you have any airMAX AC, you should probably update.
Yep. Fab. We've got through the software very quick, very very good. Before we finish the show, is there anything that you've been working on that you want to let the good folks of the UI Chat audience know about?
Very slow on the writing front, but I did. I tweeted about this or posted on X, whatever you're supposed to say. I tweeted. I did interactive versions of my comparison charts, or at least I'm starting to build that out. I think I've talked about this before, but I ended up using Notion, which is kind of like a note-taking, knowledge management. You can build like wikis with them. It's a really nice little tool, and I've always liked Notion, but I never really used it for anything. And I just kind of settled on that for an easy way to make like a table that you can sort and filter and say, hey, which products have this feature that I'm interested in. So I started building out the UniFi ones, the TP-Link Omada and Aruba Instant On and Eero and all the other brands that I've made comparison charts for. I'm still working to add and kind of figure out how this is going to be useful. But I've already seen people that are happy to have it this way rather than those static images that I was making before. Check it out. It's mccantech.notion.site, which is kind of a clumsy URL. And I'm eventually going to, once I have it more complete, I'm going to make kind of a post about it on my actual website. And same thing, I'm almost done with a home network update. So that's the other post that I was working on. My review for my Cloud Gateway Ultra and the I forget what other product it was.
UniFi
there
Express.
was some other. Yeah, the UniFi Express. That review kind of got put on the back burner because I started tinkering with my home network. So then I ended up starting writing about that. So I'm going to hopefully post that, when this show is posted, it'll hopefully already be out.
Yeah.
If not, early this week.
Nice.
So just talking about my home network and the Cloud Gateway Ultra, a few things about that.
Sweet. But that comparison thing, is there no way of getting that like inside your website, or is it quite tricky to do?
Yeah, there's I found a paid tool to what I want to do is embed it into my website. Or that's the other thing is I'm not super thrilled with having it be a separate website.
Yeah.
And there's no way to monetize it. Not that that really matters.
Yeah.
I kind of was doing this as an experiment to try to build something useful.
Mm-hmm.
So still playing around with it, but it's there if you want to try it out.
Yeah. I mean, long term, if it can't get to it, you could just redirect that URL to comparisons.mccantech.whatever it is, .net. Yeah.
Yeah, I still have to play with that. But yeah, still trying. It's hard enough getting all the columns to line up and all the different ways you can represent the data, getting that synced up. Because what I want to do is have all the vendors on one, so you can say, okay, I want to buy a Wi-Fi 6 access point. Mm-hmm. Which one's better? So that's what I'm trying to build up to.
Nice. I've been working on. Well, the only Ubiquiti thing I've been working on recently is I published a UniFi Ultra Switch review. We'll kind of first look at the Switch, how to get it adopted using the Hostify tool, because it doesn't have SSH. You've got to do it in some horrible hacky way, but the tool makes it very easy. I'm trying to improve the quality on those videos a lot recently, so hopefully that'll be good. So check that out. Be much appreciated.
Yeah, very nice. Now you have to update it because they have new software. Changed everything.
Fab. That's going to do it for this episode. As always, you can find this podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and elsewhere. For a full description of this show, visit the episode link in the show notes. If anyone has any Ubiquiti-related questions, please email them to info@theinterface.uk, and we'll go through those questions in a future episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode of UI Chat, Evan. Where can people find you online if they would like to find out more about you and what you do?
evanmccann.net.
Awesome. Thank you for listening or watching this episode of the UI Chat podcast. If you like what we do, follow the show on all the podcast platforms and give us a subscribe on YouTube. Give us a rating. This really does help other people find this show. Again, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again next time.
See ya.